Hello and welcome to today's edition of Daf Yomi Masechet Berchorot Daf 44 Amud A. Let's dive straight in. So he's talking here about a charum. So a charum is one who can paint both his eyes one in a single brushstroke. Rather, even if he does not paint both his eyes as one, one whose nose is sunken is blemished, even if he's incapable of painting both of his eyes in a single brushstroke. This is the charum mentioned in the Torah. Any priest with an abnormally sunken nose is a charum. The Mishnah teaches that if both of one's eyes are above or both of his eyes are below, he is qualified from performing the temple service. The Gemara asks, what does the Mishnah mean when it mentions a priest wherein both his eyes are above and both his eyes are below? If we say that the phrase both of his eyes are above means that he constantly gazes upward, and the phrase both of his eyes are below means that he constantly gazes downwards, then the case where one of his eyes is above, one of his eyes is below must simply mean that he gazes with one of his eyes downward and one of his eyes upward. But if so, it is identical to the next case in the Mishnah, that one sees both the room on the ground floor and the upper story as one. Rather, the phrase both of his eyes are above, a priest's eyes are situated above or below the normal location, or one whose eyes is situated asymmetrically, or his vision is unfocused to the point that he sees the room on the ground floor and the upper story at once. It is qualified performing the temple service. The latter blemish is easily recognizable when such a person speaks to his friend and it appears as if his gaze is focused on something else. In the Roman Sefer Vod, Hilchot English 86, referring to a case where both his eyes are situated above their normal place, and the phrase both his eyes are below is referring to a case where his eyes are situated below their normal place. Similarly, the case where one of his eyes is above and one of his eyes is below is where one of his eyes is situated above and one of his eyes is situated below. And the Mishnah adds that in the case where his eyes are situated in the proper arrangement, but he sees the room on the ground floor and the upper story as one, he too is considered blemished. The Gemara asks, from where are these matters derived? As it's trying to brighter. The verse states with regard to blemishes as qualified priests, or cataract or tuvalul in his eye, 120. Since it is obvious that a cataract tuvalul can occur only in one's eyes, why does the verse state in his eye? The term in the eye indicates that any blemish that is in his eye is qualified from performing the temple service. From here the sage states if both his eyes are below, or both of his eyes are above, or if one of his eyes is above and one of his eyes is below, or if he sees the room and the upper story is one, or if he speaks with his friend, another person says he is looking at me, he is blemished, he is qualified from performing the temple service. The sages taught in a brighter, when it is stated that a blind man, Iver, is qualified from performing the temple service, see the verses 21-18, this applies whether he is blind in both of his eyes or blind in one of his eyes. With regard to a priest who can see due to pale spots in the eye or due to tears stream from the eye that are constant, whether that he is disqualified, the same verse states, a blind man, Ish Iver. The superfluous word Ish serves to include these conditions as well. The Rava says, why do I need the myth one to correctly terms man, blind, cataract, tuvalul in his eye, 18-20, all these are necessary. Had the myth one only blind, then one might say that a blind person is qualified because his eyes are not in the sockets at all, i.e. they were inoculated. But in the case of a priest with pale spots in the eye or tears stream from the eye that are constant, where his eyes are still in the sockets but he cannot see, perhaps he is not considered blemish. Therefore the most one wrote man include these conditions as well. And had the most one written only man, one might have thought that only total blindness disqualifies a priest because he cannot see at all. But if his condition causes merely impaired vision, then he is not considered blemish. Therefore the most one wrote cataract to include the conditions of impaired vision as well. And had a mercy one written only that a person with cataract is disqualified, he might have thought that such a priest is qualified because his vision is impaired. If his vision is not impaired, his eyes are mixed, i.e. the black and white parts of his eyes are mixed together, then he is not disqualified. Therefore the mercy one wrote tuvalul. And had the mercy one written only tuvalul, one might say that it disqualifies a priest because his eyes are mixed. But the Torah does not disqualify a priest due to a deviation from a normal appearance, either expressing large eyes or eyes situated higher than normal. Therefore the Messenger one wrote in his eye. In summary, Rava says Therefore, all blemishes of the eye that disqualify priests on account of dimness, eye blindness, are derived from the term man. All blemishes of the eyes that are related to vision impairment are derived from cataract. All blemishes that are related to parts of the eye that are being intermingled are derived from temporal. Finally, disqualification of deviation derived from in his eye. From in his eye. The mission sees that those who are unable to look at the sun, and Shachei Shemesh, are qualified to perform in the temple service. Rav Yosef told that this is reference to those who hate the sun. Sanei Shemesh, what does that mean? Tani Rav Yosef, Sanei Shemesh. This explanation is possibly based on the word struggle, as such people struggle with sunlight and consequently hate it. According to Tosfot, the word Shakei in the Mishnah is to be understood as derived from the word Shukei hidden, that the sunlight remains hidden from them. Others explain that it comes from the word Shechach, covering, i.e. such a person covers his eyes from the sun to first he saw, i.e. they are incapable of opening their eyes in sunlight. The Mishnah further states that one whose eyes are different, said Dayan, a priest whose eyes appear different from one another, i.e. one is black while the other is of mixed color, or one is large while the other is small, is qualified to performing the temple service. Additionally, one's ears are different from one another, or his eyebrows are different from one another, or his eyelashes are different from one another, is qualified from performing the temple service. As the Gemara explains, all of these blemishes are included in the category of Zagdom, any pair of normally identical limbs, which in the case of this individual are somehow different from one another. As disqualified from performing the temple service. In order to illustrate this blemish, Rav